Welcome back to the Ian Wendt Show, guys. I have an awesome episode today. I have my very good friend, Menez, with us. And we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff, guys. He's been involved in a lot of different near-death experiences and all kinds of different stories and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to get started. But first things first. First of all, thank you for coming up, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Second of all, go ahead and reach down to your right. And I always give my guests a little gift. So that bag, grab that bag, and I'll walk you through what's in that bag.
Oh, look at this here.
Yeah. All right, so first thing is OPG hat. So I own the company Official Patriot Gear. You know that. A lot of people know that, but that's our OPG crest hat. So I wanted to hook you up with that. And yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
I like it, man.
And then got to have the OG Patriot tee. So that's the one that started it all, man. That's the first T-shirt I ever made. And really kind of the symbol of everything this brand is all about. And yeah.
Well, dude, this is like a great color combination. The black and the green, like military
It's
green.
so simple.
It's a perfect color combination.
You can't go wrong with OD green. You can't go wrong. So it's that's the staple. And then that's the mag. That's the mag from last month. In addition to Official Patriot Gear, I also have something called the Mag Club. So every single month we do a mag, a T-shirt, a card, and a sticker is kind of like a bundle collector's item deal that we've been doing for about 2 years now. You see all the mags behind me and everything. And the mag it's symbolic of something that happened in our country that month or like pop culture. And there's a lot of little Easter eggs and things with it, and it's just a PMag, so you can run 223, 556, even 300 blackout through it.
I'm a little too afraid to use this because it's a little too nice and shiny.
It's pretty sick, dude. That one's the one about the Transcontinental Railroad. So it was.
Well, you know how women have their fine china they never use, and it stays in their cabinet all the time. This is like fine china.
No, honestly, dude, the majority of the people that subscribe. So I think we have. I don't even know how many subscribers we have now, but the majority of the subscribers, like, they're not running them. They're just, it's a collector's item. And it's kind of like the collector's cards of the 2A community, so yeah. So that's the Aurora's Rockwell sunglasses. We just actually started to do some more collaborations with them as far as glasses go, watches. And so just wanted to hook you up with those. And yeah, buddy.
I love these.
They're pretty good looking. There you go.
I've been using Oakleys for a long time, but I think you might have just transitioned me.
Well, there you go, man. I really like them, dude. I like Oakleys, and I like a lot of different sunglasses, but the Rockwells have been awesome. I have a few different pairs. I have this pair here too that they gave me. Rich is such a good dude, man. He is. He hooked me up with these when we were at that event, at the Ironwood event. So yeah, man, it's been cool.
It's really cool because
I love the collaboration.
This feels like a really high quality box. It's kind of like an Apple product box almost.
Yes, yeah. He really does. Like, they've paid really good attention to the details with the sunglasses. That's what I've loved about it. Even the watches too. I wish I had the watch to show you, but yeah, a lot of attention to details. Shout out to Rich for doing that. There's one more thing in there for you though.
Oh, there is. I missed something.
One more. Yep. You gotta have the First Form meat stick. Dude, they're so good. So that is a little product from First Form, the supplement company I work with. And I mean, they're much bigger than that. Starting yesterday, they just got all of their energy drinks basically in like every gas station, every store, nationwide, because they partnered with Anheuser-Busch and Dana White. And
well, 18 grams of protein is like what?
Dude,
I mean, 3 eggs,
and it tastes good. Like, that's the thing. It's good source of protein, but it also tastes really, really good. So, anyway, just want to hook you up with that. And yeah, that being said, we can kind of just jump into it. So why don't we start off by you just kind of telling everybody a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your story. Obviously, I want to get into, how you said when you were 1 is when you developed, what was it called again? I forget.
Well, so at the age of 1, I got what was called a spinal bacterial meningitis.
Yes.
So my parents didn't know what was going on with me at the time, but I was looking into their, well, this is how they describe it. They said I was looking into their eyes like, help me. I was just an infant, about 1 year old, can't speak or anything yet. But my parents said they were looking at me into their eyes like saying, hey, help me, something's going on. So they took me to the hospital, did a bunch of tests, and the doctors were kind of baffled. They didn't know what was going on. They said, like, there's something is wrong with him, but we don't know what it is yet. And my mother, I don't remember exactly how she came up with the idea, but she said, could it be meningitis? So they thought, we don't know. So they went back and did another test, and they came back and said, yes, he does have spinal bacterial meningitis. And
how did your mom know to look for that?
I don't know. Like mother's got some weird instincts.
Dude, you're not wrong. That's like, it's true. Yeah.
Man, I'm not sure if she heard a similar story with a kid who had similar symptoms, but I'll have to ask her again. But she mentioned along the line meningitis. The doctor said, yeah, we did not test for that yet. So they went back and they did it and it came back positive.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I want to dive more into that, but because I know that there's way more to talk about as far as that goes. But let's just go back, kind of tell everybody your background, a little bit about yourself, just what you're currently working on, and let's get to know Davis a little bit.
So I'm 33 years old. I mean, the year right now is 2025. So I was born in 1991. I was born and raised in the Bay Area of California. I'm about an hour drive away from San Francisco, and did school there. Grew up with friends and family there. Had a lot of opportunities to live the California life in a way. I mean, California is pretty cool. A lot has changed there, unfortunately, which is why I'm
especially recently.
Yeah, which is why I'm now living here in Utah. And Utah is great, and I'm leaving the California ways behind.
Yeah,
and not bringing it here with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, born and raised there. Went to junior college there for a little bit. I decided college was not really for me, so I went to a trade school in Sacramento, California called Universal Technical Institute, and there I learned how to become a diesel mechanic, hydraulic mechanic, and work on cars and semi trucks and all kinds of things like that, which was a lot of fun. Met a lot of cool people there who were master technicians, master mechanics. Had some great stories. It was a pretty fun time, pretty fun school to go to, and then I got my first job working at a company named Pappy Material Handling, which was a forklift dealership and a Bobcat dealership. So I worked on Bobcat skid steers and forklifts and other equipment used for picking up massive shipping containers. It was pretty fun. And then I wanted to get out of California and I worked for Caterpillar. And there I was rebuilding massive diesel engines about the size of a minivan. They were like 18,
that's crazy, dude.
12-cylinder engines, 20-cylinder V engine.
Do you have like pictures or footage of that?
I do, not on the phone.
We'll track it down. We'll add it to the show because I definitely.
But basically,
that's
the
awesome.
bore where the piston went into, the cylinder was about big enough for a volleyball to go into, and it had 20 of those. And some of those engines were used for like massive generators. Some of them were used for massive mining trucks. So Caterpillar was pretty cool, just mostly rebuilding engines. And then after that, I went to Peterbilt, worked for a Peterbilt dealership, just doing everything for semi trucks, fixing them. Anything a semi-truck needed, I did that. I mean, lots of clutch jobs, fixing blown up rear ends, axles, and a lot of electrical issues, and working on emission equipment.
What got you into diesel? Like specifically, what made you want to work on diesel engines and all that kind of stuff? Like, was it big in your family or?
I mean, my uncles had a couple of diesel trucks. My dad had a diesel truck too, and I thought the diesel trucks were always cool. They could always pull so much more.
Yeah, you were the 5-year-old that was playing with trucks, and you're like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody didn't believe you, and then you're like, here we are.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember just seeing, like, whenever I saw the hood of a semi-truck popped open, I always wanted to see what's in there. What's that big block of metal in there? What's that thing doing?
Yeah.
And back in the day, diesels were a lot louder because they didn't have as much emission equipment as they do now. But diesels back in the day used to be a lot louder, and I thought that was really cool. And hearing them grunt and pull that massive heavy load. Mm-hmm. So I always had an interest in diesel. So yeah, I wanted to become a diesel mechanic. It was pretty fun. I'm still pretty passionate about diesel engines to this day. I still drive a diesel pickup truck myself and do some work on it, modify it, and have a lot of fun with that. So that'll always have a special place in my heart. But that's more like a hobby kind of thing to me now. I don't do any career work related to mechanics anymore. I work on my own stuff now, of course. But after being a diesel mechanic, I went and I worked as a CNC machinist for a medical robotics company. So I was fabricating parts for robotics used for fluid analysis, which was actually in very high demand during COVID time. So we had a lot of work to do in that company I was working for. And that was in Reno, Nevada. All my mechanic jobs I did in California and Reno, Nevada. And then 2020, I moved out here to Utah. And that's when I got really serious about doing like a videography career, like a photography career, making marketing content for businesses, for YouTubers, and then that's where I got in touch with the Diesel brothers, like Dave Sparks and Dave Kiley, and I was their main videographer for the YouTube channel, helped the YouTube channel grow, and we got some pretty wild stories from doing all the filming for them.
Then we're gonna get into those too for sure. I definitely want to touch those. I want to back you up a little bit because you said when you say robotic, you mean like actual robots?
Yeah, I mean not robots that walk and say stuff.
Not like the ones that they're making today.
No, but the robots I was working on were the ones that had a bunch of fingers that come by and they'll suck fluid out of the little beakers. So rather than spending like 3 hours trying to pour the precise amount of liquid into every little, to 100 different beakers, the robot would come by and distribute the perfect amount of liquid into all of these. So that required a lot of calibration and software development.
And you were the one that was putting those together?
Yes. Well, I started up being the machinist to make them, and then I moved to assembling them.
Okay, so do you see a future in your, like, now that things are kind of moving towards, sorry, we're going to jump all over the place because that's just how it is, but now that you see things kind of moving towards AI, towards robots, things like that, are you kind of like, I'm going to start building my own robots for my house? Like, have you ever thought about doing that? You ever thought about, like, I need a robot to do this? You ever thought about building one for yourself?
I mean, I'm not too interested in building own robots. I'm more interested in camera stuff and car stuff. But
Okay.
I do have to say, we might want to have a short leash on the AI stuff. I use AI personally for my own business every day with video editing. There's times where I need to have something removed and replaced with something else. Like there's an object in the sky I don't like seeing. I can have AI remove and replace that for me.
Yeah.
I can have AI remove background noise. So AI can mean a lot of different things in my own opinion. It's just a software that's learning to adapt and hopefully we have control over it where it does what we want it to do. I don't know if Skynet's going to become a real thing.
Dude, I'll tell you.
The range of that.
I'll tell you what. I have my own. Theories on that. I mean, we could jump into it really quick. I think AI is so. I've really made it a point to like get very invested in it. I've been watching. That's how I am. When I get on something, I kind of obsess over it. And so as the AI stuff has been progressing, I've been watching it and I've been like listening to the CEOs of the AI companies and former CEOs and just kind of what everybody's saying. And dude, I'll tell you what, it's scary. Like, I think it's going to be like anything else where there's a lot of good that comes from it, like a lot of good. But I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of bad. I think it's going to quite possibly be the tool that ultimately leads to the downfall of human beings. I mean, like when you look at, I know that sounds like, very extreme, but realistically, I forget who it was. I think it was I want to say it was the owner of what is the name of that AI company? I forget. It starts with an A. Anyway, he basically was saying that there has never been, he said AI is going to be the single greatest invention by human beings besides the splitting of the atom. He said that's how big it is. Wow. Because what he said was imagine a world where knowledge no longer has any value, right? Like everything we do is based off of scarcity of knowledge. I mean, the reason why you're able to do what you do when it comes to videography, photography, and everything else is because you put so much time and effort into studying and learning everything about it and knowing all the ins and outs and exactly how to get that shot right and exactly how to do this and how to do that right. He said the reality is that AI is going to level the playing field completely. And so he said the best way to imagine, he said when people say, what do you imagine the world being like? He said, imagine a world where the scarcity of knowledge no longer exists and therefore knowledge is no longer valuable. So now what is valuable? Right? If knowledge isn't valuable, what is? Because that's why people make money. So now it's almost like money's not even valuable. And it's a crazy, crazy, crazy thought, but that's ultimately where I think we are headed. And I think it's going to get to a point where the value is going to be in actual human beings and human interaction. And I think it's going to get to a point where you're paying, like right now when you call into a company and you want to get a representative, right? At first it's a machine. At first it's a freaking automated agent. Over and over and over you have to push 0000 representative until they finally have a human being pick up, right? I think in the future it's not going to just be that hard to get a human being. I think you're going to have to pay for it. I think it'll be pay $100 just to talk to a human being. Like it's crazy, man, and it sounds so extreme, but a lot of these guys are saying that. Elon Musk even said at one point, which was crazy. He said it in 2023, like end of 2023, early 2024. He said, think about the relationship that you have with your dog. And he said, you need to get used to the fact that may be the relationship that you have with AI. In other words, you're the dog and AI is the human. And he said, I don't like that idea. I don't like the idea that I might be a dog. But he said it's going to get to a point where, because they have regular AI and then they have AGI. And the difference is regular AI is what we have right now, where we just basically plug in information and it spits out what's already on the internet. It just combs through it faster than anything else and finds that answer quicker, right? AGI is the ability for it to actually think and come up with a solution. It's the ability for it to take the information you're putting in there and then come up with a solution that doesn't exist yet.
Yes.
That's scary.
Yes, well, I think just like for everything that's ever invented, there's pros and cons to it.
For sure.
And I'm pretty sure when the automobile came out, people were complaining, saying, why don't you get off your lazy butt and go walk and do that? I don't need a car to take me there. But look what the automobile has brought to us. We can have things delivered anywhere in the country. And that led to many other inventions regarding transportation. So we have food here. We have apples and oranges throughout the entire year. There used to be a time where you couldn't have that. That's a seasonal thing to have. But we have that all the time now. Mm-hmm. Social media can bring a lot of negative things as well, but it also bring a lot of positive things.
Oh, no doubt. I've built my career of social media.
Yeah. So I think AI is going to be very similar. It's going to be pros that come to it, and it's going to be cons that come to it as well. But at the same time, we're still going to have instincts as humans. And we're going to have this desire to want to go out. I mean, we still do hunting as a hobby. We don't need to go find food, but we go do it because it's a sport that we're passionate about. We love doing it, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So we still do things that are related to survival as human beings, even though we don't have to do them. We still like it because we still have instincts to enjoy things like that. So I think there may be a balance or so when it comes to AI. Could do everything for us, but we're going to say, no, there's still things that we want to do ourselves in the meantime. There's a reason why some people still like to shoot with film. They say it takes a lot more energy and mental capacity to shoot with film and expose it perfectly rather than use a digital camera like on your iPhone. Your iPhone can take a perfect photo, one snap, one button, but some people say, no, I enjoy doing film instead because it requires me to think and put effort into it, and I get a result that's much more satisfying to me.
Yeah.
The other thing I realized about AI is that in the medical field, AI has been able to discover cancer in people before doctors can discover it.
I've seen that, yep.
And I'm wondering, how will we use AI regarding discoveries of things? Because I'm sure in like the periodic table of elements, there might be elements that, I don't know exactly how the whole table of elements works out, but I know some elements have been made because we combined them. But we can't find this element anywhere else in the universe.
Yeah.
But we made it because we combined it. So I think AI may help us be able to discover new things.
I definitely agree. I think that's the case too. I always worry because I definitely think it's going to help us discover new things. It's going to become like I said, dude, it's going to be an incredible tool. I mean, I don't think people realize how big of a change this is. I think AI is WWW. I mean, you think back to what the world was like before the World Wide Web, before the internet, ultimately. That's what we're going into with AI. It's that big of an invention. It's that big of an innovation. And I think it's even bigger than that, though. But I will say my prediction, just playing kind of devil's advocate here, it's like you say, okay, AI can now discover cancer faster, right? Well, here's the issue. It's the same issue we always have, which is the cancer industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I personally believe we already have the cure. But that's just my opinion. I'm your number one conspiracy theorist. But that being said, like I do believe that there's gatekeepers, and what scares me is that now imagine that these gatekeepers have the ability to gatekeep knowledge, not just information, because right now they gatekeep information. Imagine they're able to gatekeep knowledge. And what I predict is I think that if things get out of hand the way that I think it will because of these people and honestly the corruption and how evil they are, I think it's going to get to a point where where there's a class system created based on knowledge. No longer a class system based on money, based on monetary value, right? Like lower class, middle class, upper class, all based on how much money they make and how much income they have. I think it's going to be based on knowledge. I think it's going to become based on access of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have the people who have access to a little bit of that knowledge, people have access to a little bit more of that knowledge, and people have access to a ton of that knowledge. And then you're going to have the elites that have access to all of that knowledge. And it's a very scary thing to think about because then you think about, okay, well, how are they going to determine who has access to what? And I think that's where we are going when it comes to database and surveillance. And you said this on social media, and your social credit score is no longer allows you to access
credit score.
Yeah, I mean, and now because you said this, you no longer have access to this tier of knowledge, and it's like because of that, everything else in your life is affected. I know that people are listening to this and they're probably like, that sounds insane, but if you would have told people what happened over the last 2 or 3 years, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they would have said the exact same thing. That's insane. People are not going to be walking around thinking they're afraid of the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, it happened and it's real. And if you think these people are not capable of something like that, then you're not paying attention. And so while I do think, like I said, that AI will be a great thing, it'll create a lot of opportunity. There'll be all kinds of innovations that come from it. I do think that ultimately the people who will wield the power of AI, unfortunately, I just think it's been proven time and time again that those people don't have the best interests of every person in mind. And it's very much, once you get to a certain level where you have all the money and all the power and all the knowledge in the world, what's left? Right? Because that's the kind of person that you've stepped up a rung in the ladder. You're not going down.
No.
Once you've gone up, you're not going down. So now these people they've gotten to this level. It's like, what else is left? Well, what's left is control. What's left is I have all the power, all the knowledge, and all the money in the world. What can I control with it?
Yeah.
And that's where it's like,
well, people who have something like that too, they get really scared of losing it.
for sure.
They may have all the power they want, but then they get paranoid at times too, thinking, "Oh, someone's betraying me. I want my top officer. He can't turn his back on me, or he's gonna stab me in the back sometimes."
Yeah.
They're paranoid.
Yeah.
Look at supreme leaders like Kim Jong Un, like things he does. Like if he suspects that one of these guys are turning on him, he just throws them to the dogs and they eat him alive. I mean, it's crazy what can happen to some people who are not qualified to have power like that. It can eat away at their mind. They get paranoid, and it eats them alive, basically.
Yes. I mean, the whole quote of with great power comes great responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. Like the problem is that most of the people that get that great power, they don't take that responsibility seriously, and they don't do what I believe is best for I mean, just look at the politicians and government the way it is now. Like most of these people do not give a hoot about us. They care about their pocketbooks, they care about themselves, they care about the policies being passed, and they care about whether or not they are continuing to keep that control, as you said.
Oh yeah.
So that's why it's like it's really hard for me to believe that this is just going to be this amazing invention that nobody has bad intentions with, and that it's going to I really do think that this is the most important thing we could be talking about, because I mean, dude, there's even experts that have said multiple times within the next 2, 3 to 5 years tops, you're talking about 8 to 9 million jobs gone to AI. Think about that for a minute. That's a lot. It's a lot of jobs. I mean, you already have places that you walk in, and even at the airport, we were just at the airport because we just got back from that event, and walked into one of those little convenience stores in the airport, right? I don't need anybody's help. You go straight to it, register, check out, do everything you need to. You don't need a human being. How long until there's no longer a human being standing in that store?
Well, honestly, a lot of people don't even want to talk to other human beings, which is why they go to the self-checkout in stores.
Right. Which is crazy though, right? Like we've gotten to a place where I feel like society has not only shut out human interaction, but we've shut out humans. And it's like, that's why the natural progression goes to AI, because it just makes sense. It makes sense that we've now gotten to a place where we have allowed ourselves to become submissive to the point and apathetic to the point where we're totally okay with accepting a robot and accepting a machine to do everything for us and not need the human interaction. I mean, think about how many years we have now spent where most of society spends their time on their phone and doesn't really have any real human interaction. I mean, how old are you?
I'm 33.
Yeah, so I'm going to be 38, and I assume that you were still kind of part of that generation that dude, you left when the cartoons were over on Saturday, and you came back when the street light came on.
I did that.
I had phone numbers. I can't even tell you how many phone numbers I had memorized. It was a totally different world where everything was based on human interaction and being around other humans. And then as soon as the internet hit, it was slowly we've given up this need for human interaction.
Is sad, and what's sad is me to see a lot of kids on iPads today.
Yeah.
And back in my day when I was 11, 12 years old, 14 years old, and I'd be outside doing stuff with my friends. We'd go outside and build bike jumps in a dirt lot. We got in trouble doing stuff too, like they say, idle hands on the devil's workshop. And that was us, but we did it outdoors all the time.
Yeah.
And we got all kinds of crazy stories. And what makes me feel sad is thinking are kids going to talk about, oh yeah, the one time I played Candy Crush and I got this score. I want kids to grow up today thinking, oh, remember that one time we did this outside? Mom and Dad got so mad at us when they found out that we did that. Mm-hmm. I think if you're going to get in trouble, I think it's good to be outside doing stuff and experience the world and get a taste of what reality actually is.
Yeah. I agree. And that's the scary thing, because I think that we're going to a place where now I mean, what we haven't even really talked about. We kind of talked about robots, but dude, I just did a full episode on this, but couple AI with robots now, right? Mm-hmm. Now you put a robot in the place with artificial intelligence, with AGI, and now you have, and they even have the ability to make these things look like humans now. Like, It's crazy. I could show you videos of, and it's real. It's actual. They look like actual human beings. Obviously, they're not perfected, but like this is the very ground stage.
Well, we're heading to the point where we're not going to know what's real and what's fake on the internet.
Exactly. And then on top of that, and this is kind of where I've been very vocal about is saying, like, I think ultimately what's going to happen is it's going to create, we have this whole war in our country right now over like genders and over this whole thing, right? And it's like, I think AI is going to become a gender. I think it's going to get to a point where, seriously, think about it, dude. I think you're going to get to a point where there are people that are out in the streets rioting because of the people who won't accept AI as like an actual gender, an actual piece of society, right? Like, you're literally going to have humans that reject AI because of the ungodly nature of it, right? And the antichrist nature of it. And then you're going to have the people who just don't believe in God, don't really care about that kind of stuff, and are more about, progress and invention and all this other crazy, woke stuff or whatever. They're going to be fighting for the rights of these robots. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those people are going to be fighting for the rights of them because those robots are going to be their slaves. Whether they're their sex slaves, their work slaves. Oh, gosh. Seriously, though, think about it, man. Like, imagine you have the ability. Imagine you're one of these freaking basement dwellers that does nothing but play video games all day long. You have no social life. You have no chance of ever getting a relationship because you don't want to go out and have a social life, right? You have the ability to create a robot that looks exactly how you would want a woman to look, has all the features, all of the emotions, all of the energy that you would want a woman to have, and you can make that and buy it, and then it's yours.
Let's be realistic.
It's crazy.
Do we men really want a woman who's absolutely flawless? Would that just be boring?
It would. Yeah, it would absolutely be. Yes.
Even though we complain about women so much, we actually appreciate that they are flawed.
Yeah. Right? No, we don't want perfect. We don't want perfection, and that's the thing. But again, think about where society has gone as far as like what people are going after. They're going after the unattainable, and they're going after the instant gratification, right?
Yes.
Instant I always say this. People tell me, I've said this so many times. Anybody that listens to me knows they're going to be, oh, here he goes again. But like, really, money is not the root of all evil. Expediency is. The ability or the need to get something faster than you deserve it without thinking about the consequences that follow. Think about every crime, think about all the evil in the world. All of it comes from people who are not patient enough to actually do the work to get what they're looking for. They cut corners. They take advantage of people. They take advantage of things. They do whatever it takes to get that thing faster than they deserve it. That is the root of all evil. And I think that is ultimately where we're headed with AI, where it's like, think about how many people are dependent on a GPS. Like if a freaking Gen Z got lost in a major city and their phone died, they're screwed. Like, they're literally screwed. They're not,
it'd bring out
most people, most of them.
It'd bring out a pretty nice adventure for them, though.
yeah. But reality, like, that's, and so many people are just.
I mean, the other thing that's kind of, I laugh at this too, because I have not studied a map in a long time. I know the streets in the place I live at, but I've had plenty of time where people who are like 30 or 40 years older than me to give me directions. Okay, you're going to go down this street, you're going to go down here. I say, look, dude, I'm just going to type in the address. And I appreciate you give me all the instructions, but I'm not going to remember any of it.
And I've said that so many times. And I even come from the time when we had MapQuest, right? Like, we would print out the directions on a piece of paper and then
I remember doing that too.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's where we're ultimately headed, where it's going to create a society where people are so lazy and apathetic, even more than they already are. And it's exactly why I think that AI is going to be a great tool, but it's also going to be our downfall.
Well, we really can't blame AI, in my opinion. We have no to blame but ourselves.
It's
just like with social media. If you get something, let's say, like say a pain reliever to help you, if you're irresponsible with it, it's going to take control of you. And in that case, if you don't have control of it, you probably shouldn't have it.
That's right.
And that's why a lot of people will debate over things like guns. Oh, you shouldn't have guns because you're not responsible. But I do believe it's a human right for us to have to bear arms. But at the same time, I can understand too. Like if you're someone who's mentally insane and unstable, like you're probably not responsible enough to have a firearm, and you're going to hurt yourself and someone else in the meantime as well. Yeah. And with AI, you can use it for good or use it for worse. And the question is, what's the vast majority of people going to use it for?
Yeah, and it's the same idea. You don't blame the tool, you blame the person that's using it. But ultimately, that's what I'm saying, I guess, when I say that. That's why I don't have a lot of faith, because I think that it is our fault. We have created this tool out of, once again, the desire to have all the knowledge in the world without actually doing the work to get it. And that's really scary, right? Because the search for knowledge, I believe, is like one of the most noble endeavors of any human being. You know, like why do we become who we become? Why do we build the careers that we build? Why do we create the legacies that we do? Because so many of us choose to gain that experience, and through that experience gain that knowledge and become someone who, well,
the way I
is able
view
to do that.
Discovering things or having knowledge is kind of like passing on the torch, because there are things that were invented by like Thomas Edison, like how electrons flow through a conductor, a light bulb that produces light. How long did it take for him to discover something like that?
Right.
And it probably took him like countless hours to discover that. But today, you can have that explained to you within probably a minute, and you know exactly how that works. But what you can do with that information, you can take that information and apply it to discovering something else new,
right,
in your life. So it's like this. Every time a new generation of people comes along, they got to catch up and learn all the stuff the previous generation learned, and then take that information to discover new information. So it's like passing the torch on in a way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
No, random funny fact about ChatGPT. The CEO, Sam Altman,
yep.
He said that saying thank you and please had cost tens of millions of dollars in energy costs for ChatGPT, because saying thank you or please, it requires extra processing power, and it can't just discard it immediately, I guess. So the extra cost of electricity to process that is costing ChatGPT tens of millions of dollars.
Hold on. Say that again. So ChatGPT costs extra money for ChatGPT to say thank you and please?
No. Every time you say please or thank you to it. So if it gives you, let's say, give me a report on this, and you say thank you, this looks great.
It costs them more money?
Yeah, because they have to process your thanks to it. So apparently Sam Altman, the CEO, he says it costs us tens of millions of dollars in electricity to process every time someone says please or thank you to ChatGPT. So it does actually cost something to be polite these days.
That's funny, dude. So, I mean, that kind of gives you a little bit of hope, right? That means that a lot of human beings are saying thank you and please to a random robot.
Well, maybe they're hoping that when Skynet actually takes off, that their lives going to be spared.
Well, so I don't know if you've seen those memes, but there have been like memes and reels and things that people have made that are like, hey, I always say thank you, I always say please. So hopefully, if this whole robot invasion ends up happening, like they'll remember that, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, we could talk about AI forever, but I wanna get back into your story. Let's just dive straight into. So, you were working with the Diesel Brothers, and you've kind of told me a little bit of some of the stories that you've had, but I want you to tell the story you were going to tell me about the like near death experience that you had with them. I'm sure there was many, but like. The one that you were going to tell me about, let's hear about that.
Well, that job was a lot of fun. And to Dave Sparks, if you're watching this, I just want to say thanks for letting me join you and your crew. That I had some pretty amazing stories from that time. But yeah, there was a lot of like secondary fun. I guess that's what people call it these days, where it's sucked in the moment, but it's a lot of fun to talk about it later on. We were in a lot of those moments where we're trying to pull a vehicle out of the mud, and it sucks. Everyone's tired, everyone's exhausted, everyone's hungry, they're thirsty. Like we're like 100 miles away from the nearest town, and we're trying to pull a vehicle out of who knows what, and cables are snapping, but
they make the best stories.
Yeah. The moments you say, okay, this sucks, I don't want to be here, but after you get out, you're like, oh, dude, remember that time? Like I had a lot of stories from doing that with him. But One story I do remember is this YouTube collaboration we did with another YouTube channel called Ghost Town Living.
Okay.
And this guy who owned this ghost town his name was Brent Underwood. And Brent Underwood, I guess, he was successful in the business somewhere else, so he bought this ghost town called Cerro Gordo. And he wanted to revive this place and make a bunch of YouTube videos about it and preserve the history of this place. And there were several gold mines that had been sealed shut. Like after they decided, we're done mining gold out here, they sealed it shut so nobody would go in there.
Is this in Utah?
No, this is in California.
Okay.
Cerro Gordo, California. The ghost town, I think, was about 9,000 feet elevation, and it's like in the absolute middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And I didn't even know this place existed before. Anyways, Brent Underwood was trying to open up some of these gold mines with the equipment he had, and it was pretty dangerous because there's a risk of the dirt and the material above him collapsing on him, so his equipment was just not suitable for digging these mines open. Dave Sparks, fortunately, has a lot of connections, so he brought in like this 100,000-pound excavator on an oversized load on a lowboy hauler, and he had one of his guys, Hunter Goodrich, I think, drive that thing for 5 or 6 hours up this really long road up to the mine. Like driving a excavator just full speed, literally walking speed.
Jeez.
So we get the excavator up there. Dave Sparks just goes ham with getting this thing down into the valley. He gets to this one mine. He just starts digging this thing open, and I remember filming it with my drone, and it was pretty cool to watch it. And then eventually we saw this little tiny hole appear in the dirt. He digs it deeper again. The hole gets wider. Digs again. All of a sudden this huge cavity appears out of nowhere. And he puts the bucket of the excavator up to the top and try and prevent dirt from falling down. So we all decide, okay, we're going to go walk in here and see what's in here. Just no warning, no precautions at all. We just walked straight into the place. And I remember walking in there, it feels really cool in there. And we feel this air is being sucked into this place, like the cave you're breathing for the first time. We found live dynamite inside of it. We found a newspaper, I believe it said like 1909 on it.
What?
We found a carton of cigarettes in there too. We found some old pants, mining tools, some ladders. We found a fox that died in there and dried up. I guess the fox went in there when they were closing up the mine, and he got dried up in there. But while we were in there...
No bodies.
No bodies.
Or skeletons.
Well, technically there were bodies, but we couldn't reach them.
Okay.
The mines we went into, it collapsed, and there were 33 men that were in there.
Oh my gosh.
And they got buried right away. So we walked down this mine, and geez, I want to say maybe it was like half a mile straight into this mountain, and we found the trusses had rotted away and collapsed. So like there was nothing holding the mine up. And then
you're a half a mile into it.
Yeah, and then like all the sediment had collapsed too, but it created like a cavity above the mine. So we crawled into that cavity and came down the other end, and then we kept on walking down. And let me tell you, when you're inside the heart of a mountain, you got this weird feeling. It's not claustrophobia, but it's some other feeling like I'm deep in a place right now.
This could all come down on my head at any moment.
But the thing is, we literally had rocks falling down on us. But sometimes we'd be walking, all of a sudden, this big cluster of rock, dirt just fall down right in front of our feet. And some things we did were kind of stupid. We weren't wearing hard hats or anything when we were in there, but rock was falling around us. We didn't check to see if there was any gas in there to poison us. But we just walked in there, and rock was falling all around us. I remember looking out at the entryway, and I see this massive cluster of rock and dirt just falls down and buries half the entrance. It closes half the entrance right there. And I think, dude, we're going to get buried alive in here. But the thing is, a videographer, a mistake I made, I was so focused on getting the shots that sometimes I was not aware of my own safety. Mm-hmm. So looking back now, I kind of think, yeah, that was kind of stupid going in there. But I'm happy I lived to tell the tale. I'm not going to do that again. But it was a pretty epic experience. I mean, how often do you get to go into a gold mine that's been sealed shut for over 100 years?
Yeah.
Think about this. World War II had not started yet.
That's
when
crazy.
This mine was being sealed. The last time someone was in here, there was no rumors of World War I starting.
Yeah, that's insane. That's crazy. And then so what happened? You just went in there and...
Yeah, we went in there, went to the very end where we couldn't go any further. And
because there's just a wall of...
Yeah, we've also found a sliver where they found a bunch of silver, like a sliver of silver. And we were rappelling down that, and we found a bunch of tools and stuff down there. But the further we went down, the more dangerous it was because they were not focusing on making the ground flat and level. They found a big sliver of silver there, or actually gold rather. And they were just focusing on just hauling all that stuff out of there. A lot of people did die in those mines. Like collapses were common with that.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I mean,
Yeah, but they were pretty sketchy back then too. This was before OSHA, and they had trusses in there. We went in after the trusses rotted away, fell down.
you guys are crazy, dude. And the whole time you're just like, well, we're here. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And so then you got out. You just went out the same way you came in through the.
Yeah, we went out the same way we came in,
even though it almost closed up on you.
Yeah, and I remember when we were walking in, another guy named Bud. Bud was at the scene of the excavator. Dave said, "Okay, if this collapses, go get hands and tell him where we're at, and he'll call, I don't know, the authorities, and they'll come try and dig us out. Hopefully, there's enough oxygen there for us to survive until they dig us out again."
Jeez, dude. Did they do a YouTube video on that then?
You did one? I filmed and I edited all of it too.
We'll have to add clips of that to this if we can. Can we do that? I don't know if we can.
I mean, it's
copyright or something. We'd have to ask.
But you can put the link to the video in your description, and
that's true.
People will watch
That's
it.
true. That's crazy, dude. I would be flipping out if the freaking ceiling was like if there was actual dirt and rocks falling down around me. I'd be freaking out. I don't know how you did it. That's crazy. Because being buried alive would be awful. Can you imagine?
You can't see anything. You can't move. You can't breathe. You don't know if you're dreaming.
There's that. Did you hear about that story of, I think it's in Utah. I want to say it was in Utah, like Zion or something like that. About the guy who did like the super, I don't even know what you call it, but he did like the cave crawling thing.
Nutty Putty Cave?
I guess, where it's like super, super small entryways and he's like basically squeezing his body through. Did you hear about the one where the guy, he was doing that and he got into this place where he had squeezed his body all the way down into this tiny little like crack, and there was no exit, and he was upside down like this, and so he literally died that way.
Yeah, I read about that story too.
They tried to pull him out. They couldn't pull him out because if they pulled him out, it would have just like ripped him apart. So he literally died like this. Said goodbye to his family like this.
So think about this. You're an emergency medical responder. Say, hey, you got to go down that cave, try and find that guy. I mean, if I was a medical responder or emergency responder, I'd say, you got yourself in there. You get yourself out, buddy. I'm not going in there after you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, dude. Can you imagine being the family, though? Like,
oh, yeah, it's terrible.
Dad just crawled into this hole, guys, and now he's never coming out. Like, what? What? It's crazy. I can't even imagine, man.
I mean, I have respect for those people too, but I don't understand them. When you see a super tiny cavity, you say, I'm going to try and squeeze myself in there hard as I can.
No. It's the same. It's the same for me as like the guys that do the freaking skyscraper parkour. Like, hold on a second. Let me go and hang off of this massive skyscraper just for kicks and giggles. I'm hundreds of feet in the air. I don't even know how freaking tall they are. Just like immediate death if you fall, right? But you're going to do it anyway because why not? Or you're jumping building to building. Have you seen some of that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Where they're walking on these tiny little ledges and it's just like, why? Like, why? At that point, I feel like you just don't appreciate life. I don't know. Maybe it's just they're wired differently. It's the same thing as like free climbing.
Well, they have,
like free solo. Did you see that movie?
They have an objective or a goal or something they want to do.
Yeah.
There was a research done with all the men who were competing in Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
And they asked a lot of the contestants, if you could take a pill that guaranteed you'd win the contest, but it costs you half your life, would you do it? And like a vast majority of them said yes, because that's all they wanted. That was the meaning of their life, was to win the title of Mr. Olympia. And they said at whatever cost. So it doesn't surprise me that other people are doing things
well, it makes sense.
When they jump over buildings and say, this is the biggest thing I want in life right now, was to get a successful video of me doing this, or to have the story say, I jumped this building doing this. That's something that they really prize and they want. And they had the courage to go out and do stuff like that.
I just think it's stupid. Like, I'm sorry. I just can't. I don't. I mean, I guess like I guess maybe we just don't understand that kind of aspiration. But I mean, the bodybuilder stuff makes sense because they put enough drugs and steroids in them to do that anyway, to kill themselves halfway through life. But I just can't understand the idea of, like, even if you think about like Free Solo. Did you see the movie Free Solo? I brought that up a little bit ago. The one where he climbs, I forget what the name of the thing is, but just free climbing, where if you make one mistake, just one mistake, you're dead. Like, it to me, it's just you just have to have a different. I don't know. I just can't see how anybody can respect life and do that.
Well, you know what? When it's kind of like from the movie Batman, when The Dark Knight Rises, when Batman is
Great
trying
movie.
to get out of that hole.
Yeah.
The guy told him to do it without the rope.
Yeah.
Because your body is saying, I have to do this. This is life or death. And your body kicks in overdrive with the adrenaline, all that stuff too.
Yeah, but that's a little different to me because it's like he's either stuck in that cave or he's climbing out of it. These guys aren't stuck anywhere. And maybe they are. Maybe that's what it is. You know what I mean? Maybe they feel stuck in life and that the only way that they're going to be able to like liberate themselves from the place that they're in is if they're able to do this crazy, insane.
Well, what's better? Risking your life jumping over buildings and being super fit in shape, or being stuck in your mother's basement on your iPad using AI?
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, that does put some perspective in it. I don't know, man. It's a weird thing to try and like relate to because I'm like,
well, if you're going to throw your life away, I think I'd rather be doing something pretty thrilling rather than just rotting away in a basement.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I mean, that's kind of like with when you have people that are told that they have a illness or cancer or something and they only have certain then it's like send it, balls to the wall, do whatever you can to.
Well, speaking of that,
live life.
People who have cancer or disability, they are told you don't have very much longer to live.
Right.
They start to realize how valuable life is. And
sure.
The cartoon artist Bill Watterson said a quote I'll never forget. He's the artist of Calvin and Hobbes. He said, "You don't know how valuable something is until it's gone."
Oh yeah.
And I think that's quite true in a lot of ways. When you miss the opportunity to do something, say, "Oh, I can't do this anymore because I spent all my time doing that." You realize how valuable life is. And so some people who have cancer or they're on the verge of death, they say, "I'm really, really wealthy. I have family." And that's a very valuable thing. And I spent a lot of my life trying to achieve this or that, and I wasted that when I had that opportunity to be with my family. So they realized family is actually really, really valuable, and they start putting a lot more effort into being with their family in the last couple of minutes they have alive.
Yeah, for sure. I've talked to a couple people. I've talked to a couple people that like have had cancer and have beaten it, and it's the exact same story they give every time, that they get to a point where they just realize nothing else is really important. Like the only thing that really matters is the people in front of you and like the time that you spend. And it's so hard for us to have that perspective. You know what I mean? Like it really is so hard unless you get to a point where you're about to lose everything. And to your point, that is 100% the truth. When something is not under attack, you don't value it. It's the same reason why most people didn't really speak up about, freedom and all these different things for the last few years until it was almost taken away from, or until it was taken away from them. And now we're kind of getting back to another point where people started to get comfortable again. We saw it for sure, just from a standpoint of my brand for Official Patriot Gear. I mean, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, it was all about patriotism. Everybody was so patriotic. Everybody was so anti-tyranny and like all about freedom and all about unity and everything. And then it seems like when they got what they thought they wanted and voted for it, everything and now it seems to be that freedom is a little bit more accepted. Freedom in one side and freedom in one aspect. Now all of a sudden they're not being told to wear a mask, and they're not being told where they can travel and where they can't, or whether or not they can see their loved ones in a hospital or whatever. And so now it's kind of like they just taken their foot off the pedal, and it's like, well, we're okay now. Like, we're good. But the reality is that's why we continue to have these ebbs and flows of losing freedom and losing those things, right? Because we do take our feet off the gas. And I think that's the same as everything else. We need to understand that the things that are most precious and most important in life need to be fought for at all times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a saying I believe pretty firmly: hard times make strong men. Mm-hmm. Strong men make good time. Good time makes weak men. Weak men make hard times. And the cycle starts over and over and over again. Yep.
Well, and there's a reason why men are being attacked so hard right now. I mean, testosterone in men, just, I've been very outspoken about this because, I mean, bro, you literally go to an airport, go to a mall, go to any place where there's a ton of people in public. Men don't even have shoulders anymore, man. Like, it's like, they just don't. It's so not. It's not a masculine society really anymore. Like the majority of men are just they're soft, they're weak, they're they're kind of falling in this line where it's becoming very much more feminine. And I think everybody will agree with that. I know most people will agree with that. And it's a very calculated thing, I think, because if you take men out of the equation and if you make men feel like they are not capable and inferior, which has happened because that's why men's suicide rate is so incredibly high,
absolutely.
Right? Then you effectively destroy families.
Oh, yeah.
And the goal has always been, in my opinion, in this whole battle of good and evil, to destroy the family. I mean, the family unit is what keeps a society strong. And if you don't have strong families, if you don't have strong family values, it's just a matter of time, right? It's just a matter of time. And again, that's why, going back to the whole AI thing, it's like when that starts to take hold, it's going to be another thing that I think is going to pose a great threat to your family. Because imagine a kid who feels like they can't relate to their parents, right? I felt like that when I was a kid. I felt like there was times when I was like, man, mom and dad just don't get it. I freaking hate this. Like, this is awful, right? And you just, you get to a point where you're mad and angry at your parents and you don't think that they understand you. You don't think that they want the best for you. And obviously that's not the case, but you do get there, right? Now, nowadays, you see a lot of these kids turn to chat rooms and other people, and that's how we get a lot of the issues with child trafficking and all this other stuff, right? Well, imagine that you get to a place where they could actually turn to a sentient being that could effectively act as their parent, but tell them the things that they want to hear and give them the things that they want.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, now you're going to be replacing relationships that are so crucial in the world. Like, to replace the relationship of a father or a mother with a robot or with, a machine, that's scary.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a parent right now, but I do intend to become a parent someday. But I do believe this, that as a parent, if you don't teach your children morals and ethics, the world will.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of other things
Well
out there
said.
that will want to get into the mind of your child, and they will be very confused. They don't know what to turn to, what to do. So as a parent, it is your moral obligation to be in your child's life a lot, teaching them how to be independent, teach them what's right, teaching them what's wrong, have a foundation for your ethics and your morals. And if you don't have that, and you say, well, I'll just let society deal with my children, that's one of the worst things you can do as a parent, in my opinion, say, let society deal with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I think that's what's happened in a lot of ways. A lot of these inner cities and things like that, like a lot of the parents have just kind of stepped out and been like, I'll let society raise my kids. A lot of kids are, it's like, I'm blessed to be able to have a wife who is a mother full time, right? We don't send our kids to babysitters. We're blessed to not have to do that. I'm not knocking anybody that does. I'm just saying, like, there is a difference when a parent is able to be present throughout their kids' lives, and when a parent has to work and their kids are babysitters all day, every day, or has a nanny or whatever. And it's like, I know that there's situations where that's necessary. I get it. I mean, I was in that situation when I was a kid for some time too, with like my mom and stuff. But, there is a big difference. And I think I'm so grateful that my wife has been able to be full-time mom, because my kids are growing up with their mom and they're learning from their mom. Right.
Yes.
And you're right. It's either you raise them or society raises them. And man, with where society's going now, it's like, I don't want society raising my kids.
Yeah, that's a very important thing to do, and make sure they stay in your kid's life, because I believe society and like the crazy things going on in this world, they're trying to get into the minds of your child right now.
For sure.
And you have to protect your child from that.
Yes.
And you have to tell your child, this is the world that's out there. As your child matures and can understand things, you have to say, look, this is the world we live in, and this is what's coming out. So when you go out into the world, you're not going to live here forever. You're not going to be under my domain forever. But when you go out, this is what you should expect. And this is how you should approach it.
Yeah. Do you feel like your parents did that for you?
Oh, yes, they did. My parents, I have very good parents that were very loving to me. They did their best with teaching me. Of course, they were not perfect, but I would not trade it for anything else.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I feel like my parents weren't perfect, and they made mistakes, but ultimately their example and their love has made it so that I've become the person I've become. Right? Like,
oh yeah,
and it's, I understand too. My dad worked so hard when I was a kid. Like, he had a full-time job knocking doors selling life insurance, which is crazy. Then on top of that, he was going back to, he didn't go to college, so he went back to college to get his bachelor. Then on top of that, he had a pretty prominent position in our church. So he's doing all three of these things at the exact same time, all while raising a family. And so, while he wasn't able to be there all the time, like, I appreciated how hard he worked and how much he sacrificed for the family to make it so that we could have, not what we wanted all the time, but at least what we needed.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that for a second. Not going to college is really that's something to be ashamed of or afraid of anymore these days. Because,
not at all.
Like, that's what society tells a lot of people. If you're gonna go anywhere in life, you got to go to college, and you got to get a degree. And how many people are using their degree for the job they're working in after they graduate from college? And here's the other thing that is good about AI with the internet. There's a YouTube video for everything. How to change a tire, how to do brakes, how to do brakes on this specific model vehicle. You can learn to do basically just about anything on YouTube.
Yep.
YouTube is a wealth of information. It's just like what we said earlier. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad things. So you can use YouTube as a wealth of information to learn how to do anything. And for me, working as a mechanic or in the trades, or doing construction or fixing things, I can tell you, if you can say, I can fix it or I can do that, people will want you. Because it's really hard to find someone who knows how to fix a sink that's leaking or just to change tires. I just got done filming for a company that does tire service, brake service, and they got a bunch of young guys there working, and these young guys are learning on the spot how to change brakes on the car, how to change fluid, how to change the tires, and that is fantastic experience to have, to take with you for another job somewhere else.
Yeah.
You can go into construction, you can go into maintain, like say, a reservoir. You can go into maintain a company that has a fleet of cement trucks. You can take that information that's hands-on and apply it to so many different things in life, in this economy that we have. And, tires are always going to be in demand. Cars are always going to be in demand. Like, our infrastructure is always going to need to be maintained. So that's a job that you can find work or a career in that field, no matter how bad the economy gets. If we're going to have infrastructure, there will be work to do just to build it and to maintain it. And I think for a lot of young men, I don't think they need to feel the pressure, I have to go to college. If you're really passionate about becoming like a doctor or something that requires a degree, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you think, I just enjoy improving things or building things, making them better, and getting an experience with a hands-on job can teach you so much, and you can only climb the ladder higher from that point on.
Yeah, well, and ultimately, I mean, the reason why my dad went back to college is because he wanted his bachelor because he's an agent for State Farm, and so back then you needed a degree to be able to get your insurance license and all that stuff. But yeah, I agree. Like it's 100% not necessary. And honestly, again, going back to this whole AI thing, like, when AI becomes AGI, when everybody has all the knowledge they want accessible in their pocket, what's going to happen to schools? What's going to happen to teachers? What's going to happen to these education systems, right? Yeah. It's another piece that's just, we can talk about forever, but like, I agree. College is very much I think it's a system that has been put in place to create subservient, very what's the word I'm looking for here? I mean, it's ultimately just creating pawns, man. Like, college just creates people who are totally bought into this idea that they're going to work a 9-to-5 for the rest of their life, or that they're going to have this successful career, but that their career has a cap. You can't make X amount of dollars. You're going to make this much, and that's just kind of how things are. And you're going to work your life, work your ass off for the rest of your life to get to that point, and then you're totally satisfied with it. And it's a system where people learn to be subservient and learn to be responsive, rather than, because you're just spitting out answers that they give you, right? You take tests, all that kind of stuff. It's this broken system that is creating mediocrity.
There used to be a time in college where you could work a minimum wage job, pay for your schooling, pay for your housing and food, and you're fine with that. And the reason why I think that went away is because the government got involved and say, we can do student loans. And people who are fresh out of high school don't know better. They're immature when it comes to finances. They say, sure, a loan. That's what everybody else is doing. So they basically sign their life away to get into debt forever.
That's right.
And colleges realize, hey, we can take as much money as we want from the government.
That's right.
Practically. And say, this is just the rising cut.
And again, just going back to, it's the same thing. It's that whole idea of expediency, right? Like, instead of people choosing to go to work and actually get that experience and get that kind of like feeling of grit of having to make the money to provide for yourself, to go to college, to get knowledge, to be able to build a career. Now you just have this thing where it's like, the government's going to give me all the money I need. I'm going to be in debt for life, but I don't have to work as hard. And again, it's just that same thing where we want that instant gratification. We want that result faster than we deserve it, not thinking about the consequences that come, which are we lose the experience, we lose the work ethic, we lose the emotions, we lose all of that comes with having to work for something.
Yeah.
And, you know, even speaking to your point about like men being handy and things like that, right? Like I'm definitely not the most handy person. I'll just say that right now. Like I'm not, I never have been. But that being said, I think it's going to get to a point where, again, with like AI, where people are, you know, all the knowledge is going to be accessible, but how many people are going to be willing to use that knowledge, right? How many people are going to be willing to actually do what you said and pull up a YouTube video and say, okay, this is how we fix the sink, right?
Yeah.
There's already such a small amount of people that are willing to do that. And like I said, I'm not the most handy either. Like it's definitely not my strong point, but I do think that we are moving towards more of a society where I think what you're going to see is as AI starts to become more prevalent, I think overall human beings are going to kind of want to get back to humans.
Yeah, like their instincts.
Yes, like you're gonna want to have that human interaction again. And so we're going to see one of two things. Either humans are going to say, we're going to use you as a tool, but we're still going to fight for human interaction, or it's going to become a freaking revolution, and humans are going to fight for human interaction, and elites are going to fight for robot dominance and surveillance. And
one thing I wonder, could AI actually self-destruct itself? Because Facebook, they had two computers with their own artificial intelligence communicating with each other. They made their own language, and they couldn't know.
I saw that.
They couldn't know what the computers were saying to each other, so they had to shut it down. I'm wondering if sometimes AI could run away and say, okay, we don't know what it's doing at this point.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's doing, but what we can do is we can pull the plug on it.
So I just made a video about this, actually, about the whole idea of pulling a plug. There's a funny reel out there where the guy basically says, you do what I tell you to do. I'll just pull your plug. And the AI talks back to him and is like, oh, you will, big boy. Well, how about the fact that I'm the one that wrote your paper, and I'm the one that helped you come up with your dissertation, and I'm the one that helped you write your best man speech, and I'm the one that helped you understand how to have better intimacy with your wife, and I'm the one that helps you understand how to write emails, and blah, 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 blah. And he basically is like, no, you know. But at the end of the day, it came down to he's become dependent on this AI, and there's no way he's going to pull the plug, because if he pulls the plug, then what, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just such an interesting thing where it's like, will we pull the plug, or will we get to a point where we've created so much dependency on this that we won't? And it's, you know, it's kind of like saying, would you stop using GPS? I wouldn't. I love GPS. It's great. Yeah, if I have access to it, it's awesome.
Well, that's how I found
not having to pull over
today.
Yeah, not having to pull over and ask a gas station or something like that, or do it old school. Like, you know, it's with time comes progress, and I do believe that has been a huge progress. It's just the question is how much do you progress before it's like, okay, we're going too fast. Mm-hmm. And some of these guys have even said like the foot's on the gas now. There's no stopping it, and it's just it is what it is. But I don't know. I just think overall, it will come back to humans, and you know, I think that's the silver lining, is that hopefully human beings will learn to appreciate human interaction more, and some of us will seek it out more than others. But
even if we are heading toward a time where we're going to be doomed by AI, we still have a moment in life where we can enjoy these things with each other, with our family.
100%.
And I think it's important that we take advantage of that and not spend the whole time worrying about what will the future be like. Because even if the future does turn out to be good or worse, you don't want to look back in the past and say, I spent my whole life just worrying. I mean, it's important to take note of these things and take caution about it. But at the same time, don't let it consume you.
Yes. It's the difference of being aware of the truth and allowing the truth to totally consume your life. And I tell people that all the time, because I get a bunch of people almost every single day that'll just, how do you do this? Like, how do you talk about everything you talk about and still stay sane and be able to sleep? And I always tell them, it really does come down to what you just said. I'm aware of the truth. I'm aware of what's going on, but I don't let it consume me. If it gets to a point where I feel like it's starting to, I totally disconnect. And that's kind of what I've even done over the last couple of days, you know, with all the riots and stuff. I haven't really commented on it. It was my boy's birthday this weekend, and I just kind of I was like, I'm going to focus on that. I'm not going to talk about any of this other stuff. I'm not going to let it consume me. Like, the rest of the internet can freaking go nuts right now, but like this is where I'm going to live, you know, with my boy, with my family, and It's hard. It's not easy to unplug. It really isn't. But I think that I've had the ability to see it coming, you know, when I know that I'm going to get really consumed with something. And it's great advice. It's the truth. Like, be aware of the truth, be aware of what's going on, but don't let it completely consume you, because it won't lead to anything good. I love it, dude. Well, I think you need to go, don't you?
Yeah, I guess about the thing the guy I attend to too. But
I wanted to talk about your. I really wanted to talk about your videography in Germany and stuff like that, but I don't know. We don't have time to do that.
We can do that next time. Another time I'll come by and visit.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll have you on again for sure.
Okay.
It was great.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, Ian, for having me stop by. It's really cool seeing your office and making a connection. And
man.
Let's come by again.
Yeah, thanks for filming the gym stuff today. That'll be awesome. I'm excited to see that. Nobody does that ever for me, so that was awesome. But yeah, man, thanks for coming, and we'll have to have you on again.
Of course.
All right, guys, thanks so much. See you next episode.
Thank you.